You obey me as long as I obey Allah in the administration of your affairs. He never said that. Why? Because now this is a new kind of person who's ruling. He is not in the mold of the previous rulers. Some of them more accurate than others, but still not kings. Now he wants to impose the bay'ah. He wants to impose the ta'ah. Before we didn't have an imposed bay'ah, and we didn't have an imposed ta'ah. Now for the first time, and this is, once again we go back to what is called the arbitration, that segment of Muslim history that we covered previously from the side of Al-Imam. Now we are going to take a look at a segment of it from the side of the king. The representative of King Muawiyah was Amr ibn Al As. And when he was speaking to Abi Musa al-Ash'ari, the representative of the other side, he said to him, why don't you accept the wilayah of Muawiyah? If you have problems with him being delegated power, Uthman had delegated power to him. So you're not going to be the first one who's going to be doing this. You have nothing to be afraid of there. And then, if you have a reservation about the Prophet's household, which means that this was one of the considerations in the public mind at that time, he said, there's nothing to worry about here, because the Prophet was married to his sister, Habiba. If you are concerned with the issue of the companionship of the Prophet, he can be considered one of them. So, in these one-on-one discussions between these two arbiters, listen to this type of logic, if we can call it that. Here he is trying almost to, in the tradition of the politicians of today. This is not in the tradition of the Quran and the Sunnah. This is in the tradition of the politics of today. He wants to try to win over his interlocutor to his side. He wasn't concerned with ayat from the Quran or statements from Allah's Prophet. He didn't mention any of this. And when the response came from this person that he wasn't willing to go along with any of this, and he gave his own response, which was enough to convince Amr that he's not going to go away with this trend and with this offer, as it were. He said, Amr tells Aba Musa al-Ash'ari, he says, well, then if you can't agree with endorsing Muawiyah, then how about considering my son? Look, listen to behind the scenes discussions that were going on. He says to him, why don't you consider my son for this position? Of course, he immediately turned him down, and he said, why don't we, meaning Abu Musa al-Ash'ari is telling Ibn al-As, why don't both of us consider presenting the Muslims with the son of Umar ibn al-Khattab? This person turns it down. Like we mentioned before, and we repeat, we reiterate here, if there was a conspiracy that traces its way all the way back to Abu Bakr and Umar, that conspiracy would have exposed itself at this moment. But there wasn't. This was not a conspiracy. Back to the mindset of these political opportunists in the camp of Muawiyah, represented by this just limited exchange of words between the representatives of both sides during these tahkim days. We go back to Muawiyah. Muawiyah is, even though this also should now be common language among Muslims, without throwing in the nationalist and the sectarian side issues. Remember, in all of this, how many years have we been covering? No one was speaking about how do you make your wudu. We're going to go to a battle called Siffin, or Al-Jamal, or Nahrawan, or the rest of these internecine encounters. No one was saying, I'm going to take issue with you because you're not praying the way I'm praying, or you're not saying the adhan the way I am saying it, or your wudu is invalid because you are not doing it the way it's supposed to be done. These were not issues at all. Even though they may have been doing it the same way we are doing it today. There's nothing that says it was not done the same way we continue to do these ritualistic issues today. But these were not matters of war. So what was then the matter that took these people to the war front? The matter was that the only place that Muawiyah, in his pre-monarchical days, the only place he ruled over without fighting to have it, was Bilad al-Sham. All other regions and areas of the Muslim world, he had to fight to gain the position to rule. There was no bay'ah in the sense that you have free and fair and full elections. This person was out to grab power because of the sword and the force that he had. And this now, when you had this person who is a taliq, and from al-mu'allafa qulubuhum, now you had him become the ruler over the Muslims. So, what are the background motivations for him to have fought all of these years to finally break with the model before it and assume a new political institution referred to as Al-Mulk Al-Adud in the Prophet's words? And we can summarize it in the following. This person, this first king that the Muslims had, and his Umayyi clan and circle, they did not feel reconciled even after becoming ritualistic and nominal Muslims. They did not reconcile themselves with